Hi, and welcome to A Drummer's Guide to, the podcast all about the things that it takes to be a professional musician aside from actually playing your instrument. Welcome. My name is Emily Dolan Davies. I am a drummer by trade. Been playing since '99, been professional since 2008, and I'm here to ramble on at you. So today I would like to cover a subject which is quite ironic. So this subject was actually suggested to me by Will from Planet Alive. Thank you to Will. And it is covering the idea of patience. The reason that this is ironic is because I have been on a hiatus for the past few weeks from the podcast because of some stuff that's going on at home. And I wanted to start by saying thank you for being patient with me. So I thought that this was very apt in so many ways. So it kind of makes sense. But it turns out patience is, because I've been doing like polls on my Instagram and stuff to do with what subjects I should cover. Like when I have an idea, I'm like, does anyone actually want to hear about this? And it turns out, yeah, a lot of people wanted to hear me talk about how to develop patience. It is an essential part of my career, of life generally, if you want to talk on a wider scale. It's annoying. It is one of my weakest skill sets, should we say? I don't know if patience is a skill. I think it might be, but yeah, I'm terrible. I am the person that wants to move. I want to go. I want to do the thing. I want to take action. You know, if there's one thing I'm no good at, it is patience. But unfortunately, as I've learnt, you can't get away from it. You really, really can't. So I thought I'd start out by just telling you some examples of where patience has really come into play for me and how it's sort of panned out. And then also how I kind of trick myself into being patient, I want to say. And I'll explain what I mean when I get to it. So basically, let's talk about some situations where I realised basically, this is a thing. Everything is not going to happen as quickly as I want it to, and that's okay. So the first, the most obvious, I think, situation for me where patience has just happened, if that makes sense. It's just happened. It hasn't been an active thing for me. It's just happened that way, is how I started working with Brian Ferry back in... Now, when was that? I was thinking about this. I was like, I should have actually thought about this before I came on here. So I worked with Tricky in 2011, which means that it must have been 2010. That makes sense to me. So I was like 22, and basically I got a phone call out of the blue from Brian Ferry's manager asking me to come and cover a show the next day. Their drummer had gone AWOL, essentially. Drummers. And yeah, we had not spoken properly for 5 years maybe. And basically I had done one little bit of work for this artist called Manjari. And honestly, I don't know how I got that gig. I don't know. It was a one-off. It was one showcase. We did a few rehearsals and we did this one showcase. I met the manager, who was this guy, Alistair. Consequently, I also met the producer, Robin, who is a dear friend of mine who I adore. And Robin, if you happen to be listening to this, hi, I love you, I miss you. Yeah, so I had done this one showcase. I'd just done my thing. I'd rocked up. I'd learned the stuff. We did the showcase. I didn't think much of it. It was one of many things that I was doing at the time. I was just trying to do as much as I could to sort of sketch. And anyway, and I hadn't seen this guy Alistair since then. But he called me. He thought of me. You know, we'd vaguely stayed in touch over email, like over the years. But yeah, he called me, and the next day I was playing with Brian in Camden, in Coco, as part of this ICA gala. I think it was something to do with arts. What would it be? The Institute of Contemporary Arts? Making that up. Don't know, might be. Let's say it was that. And then from that, you know, I did a good enough job that they then called me to come and record on his album Olympia. And as I say, this kind of moment that happened was a massive moment for me. It was a massive milestone for me. You know, he was like the biggest artist that I'd worked with at that time. And it had all come from doing this job years before, like 5 years before, 6 years before, and then just keeping in touch. And then this happened to come up. I had done nothing actively, really, aside from reaching out occasionally, to make this happen. I was actually when he called me, I was on my way to another gig with another artist that I can't remember the name of, and that's really awful. Oh, I feel so embarrassed so often when I can't remember the name of artists that I've worked with, but I remember the gig so well. It was at the Bedford in Balham, and I was playing cajon, and I am not a fan of cajons. I'm putting it out there. They are not, look, don't get me wrong, when they're played well, I'm so impressed, but I'm not that person. Like, I cannot, like, I'll play it, I'll do a good job, it's fine. It's not inspiring to me. By the way, I have hay fever, so if I start sneezing, I apologise, or start sniffling, I apologise. I will try my best. I'm trying to see, I've got tissues, so I'll be all right, but yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, I remember distinctly just going and doing this gig and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go home and learn all these songs, and I know I won't even be home till about midnight, and consequently I was up till like 4 a.m. learning these songs for the gig the next day. I was in tears, I was so freaked out, all the things. Anyway, I've spoken on that a few times before, and I'm sure I'll speak on it again, because it was a very important moment for me when I got that call, and just realising, wow, I'm doing the thing, and I haven't actually actively done anything to make this happen. It's kind of just unfolded in a way that I didn't anticipate. And look, if you've listened to me for any amount of time, you will know I am a control freak. I'm trying to get better. I really am. And I think that that's why this is a really good thing to speak on, actually. This is a lot to do with for my own sake. I've got to tell you, there's an element of selfishness of just kind of like working out stuff in my head and thinking back retrospectively and going, oh, yeah, you don't need to try and control everything, Emily, because often the best things that have happened have kind of been the product of often years of just kind of little movements and little things that I've done, you know, little actions that have happened, not these grand scale actions, which I love. They're fun. They're fun to me. They're challenging. I do love them. They have their place. But actually, time is such a huge factor. It's such a huge factor in everything in our careers. Whether it's building a reputation, just getting your name out there, you know, you're not going to meet one person and they're going to go, you know, you're not going to meet one person once and then you go, right, come on this big gig. That isn't how, it's just not how it works. There's time, you know, relationships need to be nurtured. You need to get to know people. You need to be, you know, repeatedly proven. You need to repeatedly prove yourself to be capable of what you're doing. And patience does come into that, so that's that. Another time that certainly patience was a factor was working with the Darkness. You know, that really came out of the blue for me, and it turns out they'd seen, so that was when did they get in touch? 2014, because I was just about to go on tour with Tom Bailey, so that was 2014. And I had posted a video that they had seen, the one of me in Fairy Lights. If you haven't seen it, it's, me wrapped in fairy lights playing Best of You by the Foo Fighters, although I'm pretty certain 99.9% of you that are listening right now know exactly what I'm talking about, or watching, depending where you are, what platform you're on. But anyway, that video was posted in 2010, I want to say. Again, should have looked this up so that I could be accurate, but you know me, around then. So, you know, that had been up for 4 years. I hadn't really actively done anything with it. I just kind of left it there because that in itself was a whole thing, which I've spoken on again, and I probably will speak on again. But yeah, they had just found that, and then they had gone to their crew guys and said, you know, do you guys know this girl? And one of the guys did, because I'd happened to have worked with him once on Brian Ferry. I'll be honest, I don't remember. But that means that would have been, well, maximum, if it was at the beginning when I started working with Brian, which I would hazard a guess it was, because when you start working on a gig, you have no idea who you're meeting, and the turnaround of people on that gig was very like, I don't even know, like there were quite a few turnarounds. So let's say, for argument's sake, it was 2011, so that's 3 years. Along with that video, I'm really gonna sneeze. I'm 100% gonna sneeze. Yeah, again, this element of patience that I wasn't even aware was happening. It was only afterwards I was like, wow, this has been a few years in the making. And obviously everything had to be in its right place, as Radiohead would say, because it had to be that Ed was leaving the darkness. They happened to find my video at the right time, and I can't control that. I didn't know that they were looking for a drummer. I didn't, reach out to them. I didn't know them. I had no idea. I didn't even know that we had mutual friends. It was only once I was there, I was like, oh, okay. And, it kind of, that's how it unfolds. And actually, there isn't a lot of control that we have on these things. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of is what it is. But then there are things that we do have control over in terms of patience, for sure. And for me, a really good example of exercising patience, and by patience I mean kindness as well to myself, was when I learnt to properly read music, and that was for The Voice Kids. So when I got called for that gig in 2019, is that correct? Yeah, 2019. My level of reading was essentially drum exercises. Like, I would feel comfortable reading drum exercises. I could kind of read music, but not to the level that I needed to. And again, I've spoken about this a lot, but I wanted to do that gig so badly, and I was like, right, well, I guess I've got to find the way. And I knew from the beginning that I think I had 3 months to do this, to learn how to read to the level that needed to be, like, in my eyes, world class, that needed to happen, right? And I felt like I was starting from zero. So in terms of patience, the thing that I really had to focus on was kindness to myself in the process, and being patient with myself, but also just trusting the process, and I think I was only doing an hour, maybe 2 hours a day. And then really, my nose is running. This is sexy. Hold on. I don't need a globule just pouring down my face whilst I'm trying to be serious. Yeah, right. But anyway, I knew that I should only be doing a couple of hours a day, because burnout is such a thing for me, because I go hard in everything that I do. I really do. It's do you know what? It's something that I thought was a big weakness of mine, but actually I think it's my biggest strength. Is just that I need to mitigate the burnout that comes with that. And also I just have to be aware that I overwhelm other people who don't operate like I do. But it's very useful for me. But what I knew was that in those 2 hours a day, I would be going hard, and I would be giving everything. So therefore, the rest of each of those days, I needed to relax. I needed to rest. I needed to recuperate mentally, physically, or I needed to do things like exercise physically, make sure that other parts of the other elements of myself were sorted, eating well, things like that. So I knew that I just had to be patient with the process of learning to read. And look, after the first day that I sort of I had made a plan, I created a boot camp for myself, because I was like, right, I know how I want to tackle this. And that first day, I was scared. I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I said yes to? Can I do this? But again, it was just like, look, it's the first day. It's going to be hard. It's going to be confronting. It's going to be painful. Let's go rest, and we'll hit it tomorrow. And I'm always very aware that I talk to myself as we, like we're a team, like there's two of me, if not more. But anyway, yes. So anyway, I really was like, I need to focus on being patient with myself and just trust that I can do this, because I've done so many things in the past where I've thought, I don't know if I can do this, and I've made it through. And don't get me wrong, I ain't got 100% hit rate. No, things have gone wrong. It has not happened, but the stakes of this gig was so high in terms of, it's so interesting actually now that I think about this. So the stakes of the gig were so high, and to an outsider you may be thinking, oh, because it was on TV, you know, it's televised, it's national coverage, da 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 da. No, not for me. That wasn't why it was so high stakes. The reason that it was so high stakes to me is that the gig was so well suited to my personality in terms of different like genres. It was a challenge, and I love a challenge. I mean, I get freaked out, I find it hard, but I love it. I thrive on it. And B, and this is the most important thing to me, the highest stakes part of it were the people that I would get to play with. Those people I had looked up to from afar, if you like, for so many years. And for so many years I would just be like, oh, I just love to be on a gig with those people. Like, not just musically, because the level of musicianship is bonkers, and honestly I would often pinch myself and go, I don't know how I've got here, but I'm gonna try and hold my own as best I can. But not just that, it was the personalities of the people, the kindness, the fun, you know, and just the energy, such great energy. And that is actually the reason for me it was such high stakes, because I wanted to do such a good job that these people would be the people that I get to work with over and over again. And again, I guess I'm exercising patience right now because the gig was cancelled in 2013. You know, the TV show was cancelled, so that's gone away. But in the future, I know that I will get to work with those people again. Well, I actually already have in the studio and stuff, like doing various recordings for other TV shows and stuff. But the point is, again, the patience thing comes into play, and I just know that I did. This is going to sound really arrogant, but you know what? I believe it. I did a great job on that show. I did. I gave it everything. Any like hurdle that I came up against, of which there were many, like constantly, almost daily, in various ways, I took them head on, and I faced them, and I just used it as an opportunity. But now the patience thing comes into play, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So, and then in terms of right now, there's a lot of patience being exercised. So, for instance, my house is up for sale with this studio as well. I'm still here, as you can see. There have been no offers made yet. There've been only a couple of viewings, so this is an exercise in patience for me. This is one of the hardest, because for me in life, when I want to move forward, I want to move. Like, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move on to the next chapter. Arguably, I already am, actually, and the house sale is not affecting that too much, actually, and that comes in on to a second thing that I'm being patient with at the moment, which is I finally get to move more into the coaching space of my career, which is wicked, because it's something that I've been wanting to do for so long, but I'm so aware of the responsibility that I hold to be consistent with my students, and I haven't been able to do that because I've been on the road, or, you know, random gigs would come in, and I would not be able to be consistent, and that's not fair, because as someone who has had a teacher who has been consistent with me, Mike Dolbear, shout out to you, I love you to pieces. You know, I understand the responsibility that comes with that, and I would never want to give anything less to my students. But because in 2013 all the gigs went away, well, was it 2013? Yeah, so the Voice Kids went away, Kim Wilde went away for me, they've gone back down to one drummer, and they're now selling the studio. I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. And, you know, I've been very patient with myself with this coaching thing, and I'm just getting all my ducks in a row, as it were, with it. And, oh man, it feels amazing. It feels so good. It feels very right. It feels like the right time, and it's lovely. But again, it's this element of patience and all the stuff that I've learned over the years, with this kind of in my mind's eye since probably 2014, maybe? Yeah, probably about 2014. maybe even earlier, But anyway, I've sort of had it in my mind's eye, and I've gradually been doing things in line with that. And now to get to actually go full on with it is so exciting. I can't even begin to explain, and how, like I say, how right it feels. But anyway, we're talking about patience, and I wanted to share with you the exact things that I do basically when I'm trying to be patient and I tell you what it is. I'm tricking myself into being patient. That's all it is. There's two things that I do, right, to exercise patience. And that is, the first thing is I try to fall in love with the process of the things that I'm doing and being patient with. So falling in love with learning how to read. So for me, that was like daily challenges, because I know that I thrive on challenges. When it comes to things like, let's say, social media, for instance, I fall in love with the process of creating social media, like this podcast. Do you know what I mean? This has been going since 2018, and there is an element of patience. It's difficult. It's hard, especially at the beginning. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't really know how this is going to hit, if this is going to hit, if people are going to resonate with this. I don't know. But I totally just got fascinated with the process, and just really delving into subjects, and really just thinking about what my thoughts were on certain things, how I'd done things, and then creating other social media posts off the back of that, experimenting. There was a period of time where I was doing loads of silly TikTok sort of type stuff. So much fun, a lot of work, I will tell you, a lot of work, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'll tell you why I've stopped doing them, actually. It's because TikTok I love it a bit too much. I don't go on it because I think we all are, and obviously they design it this way to make it very addictive, but I find it so fascinating. I love learning stuff on there. Just hearing people talk about their experiences, but doom scrolling is an understatement when it comes to me and TikTok. So I just don't go on there anymore. It's just too much. But I loved it. I loved it so much. And then, things like on Instagram, for instance, just creating posts. I find it a creative experience. Same as this podcast. I find it a creative experience, and I love focusing in on this. And then the patience thing, time just will go by, and that's that. And who knows what might happen off the back of that, and how things will turn out. Think about, I've just thought about this actually. The Netflix documentary Count Me In that I was on, that came off the back of this podcast, essentially, because my Louise King, who has been in the drum industry forever, used to edit Rhythm magazine, love her to pieces. Again, she reached out after I had not spoken to her in years, but she saw me talking on my podcast and talking on social media about various things. And she was like, yeah, do you want to be on it? Because you can talk, you can talk. No, but, I know how to speak, not coherently sometimes. A lot of the time it's just a train of thought. But one thing that I do know is that I'm very honest and open, and I know how to be that. I know how to do that because it's the only thing that I can do. And yes, sometimes I sort of explain myself around certain topics in a, what's the word? In a careful way? That's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's some things that I will edge around. I'll still get to the point, but it's there's a way to say certain things without maybe offending people that I've worked with, or offending a situation, projecting a situation that has happened, because I'm not into shaming anyone, or I don't believe that I'm on any higher ground than anyone else, that's for certain, and everyone has their reasons for doing things, therefore I'm not in a position to be judging. Absolutely not. Not to say that I'm not hurt by certain things, but yeah, it is what it is. We've all got our crosses to bear. So that's what I do. I try and fall in love with the process. Now, obviously, that sometimes is hard, and it's still very difficult to keep your eye on the ball when it can feel very demoralizing. And I have been there a million times over. A million times over. So do you know what I do in those situations? I divert my attention to other stuff, because if there's one thing I'm very good at, is diverting my attention. So in terms of, obviously, because it's me and because I'm like, I'm getting better, but I can't just do stuff. I need it to mean something, right? So I do focus on, so I devote my attention and I focus on other peripheral things that will also help my career in the long run in, like I say, a peripheral way. So that would mean things like fitness, which obviously is great for your mental health anyway. So that makes sense. This is what I mean. If I have like reasons to do things, like multiple reasons, I'm like, well, it's stupid not to do it, really. And if I'm trying to divert my attention to being more patient, or from being patient, or the lack of patience, and things happening in the time frame that I would like them to happen, then fitness is a great one. Like doing hobbies, she says, as someone who has historically been terrible at having hobbies. Like, my hobby was drumming, and then I turned it into my career, and that's how we got here. But yeah, things like, for me, cooking, I suppose, is a hobby for sure. So yeah, food is my hobby. So I will go and I will do some batch cooking, which again in the long run will help me from buying a Rustler's burger instead and eating that, or getting a takeout or whatever else. So it's kind of diverting attention with things like that, and also things like just giving myself time to rest and downtime. Oh my god, so I don't know whether I've told you this, probably not. So I found a new way that I like resting and recuperating, and it's working so well, and I'm so scared because I'm about to finish it. I've started playing video games again, and specifically, and you may have seen this on Instagram, specifically Final Fantasy VIII. I know I've spoken about Final Fantasy before because I'm obsessed with it. I'm actually obsessed with it, but I'm replaying it and I'm going to play it to the end, which I've never done. And I'm at a point where I'm so much further than I've ever been. Please bear in mind, the first time I played this game, I was probably 13, maybe even a bit younger. When did it come out? Probably, was it 99 maybe? I don't know, maybe 99, so maybe 12. But anyway, it is so good, but it really engrosses me, and it really, like, it's proper rest time. Like, I properly do not think about anything else, and there are not many things in my life that I have that do that for me. Boxing actually gives me that, and it's fitness. Again, this is what I mean, this stacking of like, well, boxing is great because it makes me fit, and it makes me present, and, I don't know, it's fun. It is fun, which usually would not be a good enough reason, but it's so much fun, and the people there are so good as well. They're so awesome. I've met some amazing humans there. It's so good. So rest and downtime and doing things like that are really, really useful. And then things like, for instance, a really good way that I've diverted my attention consistently is, and again, I'm an extreme. You know me, I do things. When I do things, I do the thing. That's like getting more educated on certain things. So for me, before, it would be just like listening to audiobooks and stuff like that on subjects such as psychology or business, or an array of different things, different subjects. But I went a notch further, of course, and I started doing a psychology and counselling degree, which again kind of feeds into this whole coaching thing that I'm now really leaning into, which has been great. So I've been doing this degree for the last 3 years. There's another 3 years to go. I'm doing it part-time. It's an online thing. It's Open University. I absolutely adore it. But it gives me something to divert my attention to that I know is making me grow, not just mentally, but I know that it will feed into my career wherever I choose to take it. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me. So again, it's kind of this falling in love with the process, but in an adjacent way that is maybe not that obvious. And so that is literally how I deal with patience. And again, I am the most impatient person, but I recognize that is such a massive part of anything, of life, of just life. Things need time. That's it. Everything needs time, whether it's career, whether it's relationships, whether it's just anything. Time needs to happen for things to evolve. You can't have it all right now. It's not how it goes. It's not how it goes. I'm kind of talking to myself right now. It's not the vibe. And as annoying as it is, and as annoying as not being able to control every facet and element of various things in our lives is it's necessary. It's necessary. And actually, I don't know, I suppose that time gives you, and patience gives you the time to find the clues that you're on the right path for you, that things are in alignment. Because I suppose if we went from 0 to 100 to our destination, you might get there and go, oh my goodness, there is nowhere I'd rather not be right now. And as someone who has tried to force time and patience, I've found myself in that situation multiple times, sometimes on smaller scales and sometimes on pretty public settings. And it is devastating. It is devastating, because then you have to very publicly make decisions to, I don't know, what's the word? Almost admit, no, that's not the right word. Just to, make very public decisions about sort of saying, this is not the right place for me. I need to move somewhere else, to a different place. Sorry, that probably sounds really cryptic, but anyway, it may resonate with you. I don't know. Maybe not. Don't worry about me. I'm just sitting there just going, yeah, man. Anyway, yes. So in my opinion, in my experience, I'd say focus on the process and then divert your attention. That's it. And progress will come. It will come. Just have faith that it will. Also, maybe look retrospectively at things that have happened after a considerable amount of time and just go, oh yeah, do you know what? Yeah, correct. And it doesn't need to be career-wise. It can be just in life. There will be plenty of examples, I'm sure, of, when it's just taken time for things to happen. And often it's because other elements need to come into play that are outside of your control, that you're not even aware of, and then suddenly things will present themselves. It's just how it rolls. It's just how it rolls. So, yeah, like I say, for me, diverting attention, that's probably the best thing to do. Just look over there! Anyway, I hope you're keeping well. If you enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to come and see any other things that I'm sort of talking about, the best place to go at the moment, for sure, is my Instagram, because I'm really doubling down on that. And if you'd like to reach out for any one-on-one coaching, I've got a Session Musician Accelerator program that I'm starting, and that's a 3-month program, just to make sure that all your ducks are in a row in the various areas of what being a session musician means in this world, in this day, in this age. So come reach out to me at over on Instagram. But yeah, anyway, I will be back next week for another episode, and I know that I will, because I'm about to film it right now, because I know what I'm like and I want to make sure that I'm consistent. Sorry, I looked over there. For those that are watching, for those that are listening, I just looked to my right because I've got a few t-shirts over there, so I'm just going to go change my t-shirt and then I'm going to film the next episode. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, because there are 3 options and I need to see what resonates with me most when I go to do this. But anyway, hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Keep well, sending you lots of love. Again, thank you for being patient with me with this. There is a fly in here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, thank you for being patient with me with this little hiatus that I've had. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff been going on. There's been a lot of realizations in my inner world more than anything, which I definitely will share with you at some point. But honestly, it feels so big and so seismic, and I'm really still working through it and getting my footing again in life. Like, just it kind of shifted my whole perspective on literally everything that I've ever done in my life, and it's quite a lot. And like I say, I don't know whether, I'm sure it would be beneficial to hear about it from, like, for other people, but I don't know how to put it in a way that is this is going to sound funny, succinct and coherent. Yes, me, I know, trying to be succinct and coherent, but yeah, that's if I'm saying that, that should tell you the level of, like, mess that it is, and that's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Anyway, I shall stop being so cryptic. Yeah, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna leave you, and enjoy whatever you're up to right now, and I shall see you again soon. All right, lots of love. See you later. Bye.